Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to FOL Marketplace. This is our Business, Economic, and Finance Forum. We're going to be discussing personal finance today, the 6 steps to financial freedom. And when we have time, we're going to talk about the coronavirus implications on our economy, on our pocketbook. And with me to discuss this, I have my co-host, Mr. William Thomas Benarkin. William, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. Once again, it's such a pleasure to be here. I want to thank all of our listeners, viewers who have tuned in. I want to also thank our guest who will be speaking about himself for gracing us with his presence. It's always good to see someone with the industry knowledge from the financial side joining us. We hope this will not be a one-time thing. We hope you'll be a regular on here where we love to discuss all things business and so forth. So thank you and greetings everyone from California. Thank you.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Please hit that share button, share the show, and let's have a discussion on personal finance. Our guest today is Mr. Borbi Brooklyn. Borbi, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Dennis, glad to be here. William as well. Thanks for having me.
And before we even begin with the introduction of Borbi, we'll call William to just give our disclaimer. William.
Thank you so much. For everyone, the content is for informational purpose only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on our media or written documents constitute a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Focus on Liberia or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments that is or in any other jurisdiction in which such media material may be shared. All content on the site is information of a general nature and does not address the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Nothing in the media constitutes professional or financial advice, nor does any information or platform constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the laws related thereto. Focus on Liberia is not a fiduciary by virtue of any person's use or access to the media content. You alone assume responsibility of evaluating the merits and risks associated with the use of any information or other media on the site before making any decisions based on such information or other content. In exchange for using this material media, you agree not to hold Focus on Liberia, its affiliates, or any third-party service provider liable for any possible claim for damages arising from any decision you make based on information or other content made available to you through Focus on Liberia. Thank you, Dennis. Back to you.
Thank you, William. And to our viewers there, if you can give us a feedback. I see that the video is frozen, but if you can still hear us loud and clear, please let us know. I see that the video on Facebook, if that is working, just let us know. By way of introduction, I want to welcome my man, Borbi Brooklyn. He lives right here in Metro Atlanta area. He was like most of us, he was born and raised in Monrovia. He went to the University of Ghana, Legon, with a major in English and philosophy. That's a double major. He's married to beautiful Kalitha Brooklyn, and they have 2 sons, Bobby Jr. and Brandon. Borbi, in his professional life, has worked over a decade in financial services with Bank of America, specializing in credit, sales, business banking, and then with World Financial Group, specializing in financial planning and insurance. Once again, Borbi, I want to say a warm welcome to Focus on Liberia, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate this opportunity to share information with brothers and sisters far and near. I didn't realize until William just said it that this is actually global, and there are people outside the country who are watching. So happy to be here.
Thank you. And I did a brief introduction, but I know if you can say just a little bit more about yourself, and if there's any fun fact about you. I know you got a twin brother, so it's something.
That's the biggest fun fact. As a matter of fact, when you advertise the show, and I advertise it on my Facebook page as well, my brother Bior said that a lot of people reached out to him and congratulated him on being on being invited to the show. So that was pretty interesting. I have two other brothers. They all live here in Georgia as well as my mom. My dad, who's deceased, lived here. He passed away, Dr. Nando Patrick Bropla. He served the Liberian government for a long time and in the private sector as well. I'm very passionate about money and finance. It's always been my thing, and I've planned and prepared for this day for a very, very long time, where I could share this knowledge with people far and near. People who know me know I'm always talking about money and finance, especially personal finance. So happy to be here, happy to answer questions, and happy to refer people to different websites and places they can get more information on finance.
Thank you. And let me go back to my man, my co-host, William, even before, if he had anything else to say before we can get the ball rolling.
Let's just get this thing rolling. There's so much to cover. We want to take advantage of Mr. Bropla's time here on the show, so we can get started. Thank you, Dennis.
So, Mr. Bropla, let's get into it. First, personal finance. What is that all about?
Well, personal finance it just has to do with finance dealing with the individual. Of course, it may involve other things like small business, especially because you have a lot of people who own small businesses that are not corporations, but their personal finance is pretty much intertwined with their business finance. So, and talking about personal finance, there are 6 major steps for achieving financial freedom. And we'll go over those steps. Number 1 is cash flow, Dennis. Cash flow is basically money coming in to your household and money going out. If you have more money coming in than going out, then you may be okay. If you have less money coming in than going out, then we have a problem. And you need to sit with a financial professional to do cash flow analysis. And that's basically just listing your income and then also your expenditure to see what's left. All right. And then secondly, we look at debt management. Debt management basically involves getting rid of debt. You have a situation where, think about today, student loan debt, right? Credit card debt. Even before this market downturn, those are starting to be a problem in America. And we help, you can sit with somebody who understands debt management. The goal here is to consolidate debt if you can, as possible. But then also to look at different strategies to help roll down that debt, because with debt comes interest. There's interest on debt, and that interest can eat into your cash flow. So I'll tie it back to cash flow. Then we look at emergency funds. Why do we get into debt? They say it's wise to keep 3 months to 6 months of your income or expenses set aside in a separate account than your day-to-day account, somewhere liquid, but preferably somewhere that you don't have a debit card to, where you don't easily access that money, right? Keep it aside because emergencies will come up. You'll need to replace a tire. Your air conditioning is approaching summer now. It's starting to get hot. Your air conditioning may go out. Where do you get the money from if you haven't been setting aside the money? You'll probably go back to using the credit card or getting some type of loan or asking family members and friends. That's debt. So that increases your debt load. It increases the amount of interest you're paying, and it affects your cash flow. You see how those three things are tied together? Cash flow, emergency funds, and debt. Then we look at other things like, protecting your assets. We all have cars. If you live in Atlanta, especially, or any large city, to get around, and we have insurance on our cars. Some of us have insurance on our phones. We have insurance on our houses and other property. But there's a need to protect your biggest asset, which is your actual life. Especially if you have a family. Then we look at building wealth. It's one of my favorite parts of the 6 steps. Building wealth involves investing. When I advise people, I always try to caution against jumping to the building wealth and investing portion when you haven't looked at the other steps: cash flow, debt management, and emergency funds, because that's how we get into trouble. In terms of investing, you're basically just trying to outpace inflation. Inflation is roughly 3.5% a year. So it means that if you're investing in an account that's giving you less than 3.5% a year, you're basically wasting your time, right? And then the 5th thing is we want to look at, the 6th thing here would be building wealth, which will involve protecting wealth, which will involve setting up a will and a trust, so that if something were to happen to you, all your resources and assets that you've accrued all this time will be protected and go to the family members that you wanted to go to, where probate wouldn't have to come and get involved, and the government doesn't get involved and take out more taxes. Dead people get taxed a lot here. Somebody said it's because they can't argue too much. But that's the situation in America. So so that's basically it when we look at the 6 steps.
Wow. Thank you, Bobby. So we look at, you said the 6 steps to financial freedom. That's a cash flow, debt management, emergency funds, property protection, building wealth, and you preserve or you protect the wealth.
Yeah, preserving wealth.
Right. And doing that, you say that leads to financial freedom.
Yes, sir.
What is financial freedom?
Well, financial freedom is different for everybody. To me, financial freedom means living life on your own terms. Okay, doing things because you want to do it and not because you have to do it. A lot of us are tied into jobs where we really don't want to do it, but we basically have to do it. We lack control of our finances. In some cases, we lack control of our time. We think about it. We have to live in places. Everything is controlled by our jobs, where we live, the kind of car we drive, where our kids go to school, and all of that. And if you really carefully look at it, everything is kind of tied to finance, isn't it? What if you had what if you had all the money you needed, Dennis, to retire today? Where would you live? You know, where would you send your kids to school? What would you be doing? How much money will you give to your church? You know, how much will you be able to give back to your community? It's all tied to finance. And you know, not everybody is born with a silver spoon or a huge inheritance, William. You know, people have to work for a living, and the goal here is to plan. Planning is key. You know, to say nobody plans to fail. We just fail to plan. So if you, with proper planning, you can get to that place that you want to be in a relatively short period of time.
I think William, I think we're going to be delving into these 6 steps, you know, little by little. So let me bring William in to, because when we say cash flow, you know, you touch on it a little bit, but I want to go a little bit detail on each of those. William, what do you think?
Yeah, yes, please. Definitely, we want to get a little bit in depth, and the reason why I say this is right now we're currently experiencing the coronavirus, and to kind of just take a minute, I want to kind of give people maybe the width, breadth, and depth, and depth about what's kind of going on. So the U.S. stock market basically they lost about maybe in 1 month time maybe $3.2 trillion. Now that's hard for us to kind of wrap our minds around what that means. Basically, what that means is that there's a lot of wealth. Basically, people share value, 401k companies and so forth. They lost a lot of value in what it was really worth. But more importantly, we have now experienced something that has never been seen before. For example, Macy's, about 120,000 workers have been put on furlough. So what that means is they still get the healthcare benefits, but they're not getting paid. That's 120,000. Now we have movie theaters, Starbucks, you know, places where people go for leisure or to come together. Those are businesses. Well, a lot of them, they've closed their door for a whole month. Now, you're talking about personal finance. Surprisingly, you'll be surprised that a lot of corporations in the U.S. Do not have that 3 to 6 months cash available to sustain their business with something like this. For most of them, they had to go immediately and draw on their line of credit. Some companies, they immediately went and they said, hey, you know what? I got a line of credit. I really need it, and this is something that's important. The guy from like IMAX, you know, he went and drew on his from 100 million to 300 million, pull it out, have that cash available. So, you know, Boeing, we can talk Boeing, Chevron, McDonald's, all of these companies, there's a high influx of individuals that have been stayed at home. So, Borbi, with that being said, talk to us a little bit where some people may have had cash, right? Of course, this is just month number 1. But tell me something. Tell me, should I be getting on the phone, calling my credit card companies, calling my mortgage, letting them know, hey, you know what? I'm in this situation. Can we talk about not paying interest, lowering the payments? And should I be even afraid of a little dip in my credit score right now? Is that something that I should even be concerned about, considering that this has impacted everyone?
Thanks for that question, William. What is happening in America today and the world at large is unprecedented, in my opinion. Definitely in our lifetimes, we haven't seen anything of this scale. this goes beyond a financial crisis. This is actually a medical crisis. This pandemic that's gripped the whole world. Information is key, William. I would recommend several websites here. For instance, you have bankrate.com, which is very informative as far as helping people to understand the basic workings of their home loans and personal loans, credit card loans, interest rates. It gives valuable information of what's happening right now. Like you mentioned, the government of the U.S. and most international governments had to step in to help those small business owners. Because if you are big business owners, if you are a business owner and the entire world economy has come to a grinding halt, it's almost apocalyptic, isn't it? So as a result, you have a huge stimulus package that the U.S. government passed, where individuals will be getting roughly around $560 billion. Small businesses will be getting around $377 billion, and big corporations roughly around $400 billion. But then even public health is going to be getting about $153 billion. That's critical to bridging the gap, so to speak, between where we are now and when, quite frankly, when a cure is discovered, for us to start rebuilding and start the supply chain again, because there's no supply chain right now. The links are all out. You also have other very good websites like irs.gov as far as information. And I know we're going to be talking about this in the end, but information regarding this stimulus check that individuals are supposed to be receiving, individuals who make up to $75,000 a year are going to receive $1,200, and couples who make up to $150,000 will receive about $2,400, and their kids will receive $500 each. I believe up to 3 kids. But that helps a lot. It's not going to pay all the bills, but it's going to get you through. Right now, what's critical is survival, having enough money for food and medication, and to pay your basic bills, right? And another critical website is SBA.gov, Small Business Association. These websites are providing a lot of information to individuals, and it's time. We have the time. We're at home. We may as well start doing the research. Call your bank, call your lender, your mortgage lender. Most big banks and mortgage companies are working with their customers. They are working with their customers. So,
okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Bobby. And we're going to get into the COVID-19 part of it in detail later on. I just want us to cover the 6 steps you talk about, even though it's very difficult to talk about financial planning in the midst of COVID-19. But hold your thought right there. We're going to get to it. Because these are some of the things that we're even supposed to be doing before COVID-19 came. And we know definitely this is going to pass, and we still need this financial education. So let's go step by step and delve into the 6 steps for financial freedom, starting with cash flow.
All right. So with cash flow, like I mentioned earlier, cash flow is critical. There's something called cash flow analysis, and in simple terms, what that means is you have to know what is left at the end of the month after you've paid all your expenses. You get your income, you pay your expenses. You have to know what's left. That's critical. A lot of people truly do not know what is left because, it takes some effort to list down all your expenses, especially the miscellaneous ones, because that's where our budgets get in trouble. Those miscellaneous spirit of the moment expenses. Once you have what's left, you will know if you have more money than months or more months than money. We all wish to have more money than months, but in many cases we have more months than money. And then in terms of debt management, one of the biggest things.
Before you get to debt management, because cash flow is critical. So I'm working, I'm taking pay. Say I make $15 per hour. So at the end of every 2 weeks, I get a check. So 2 weeks, a month, I got my income. I have bills to pay. You know, I have I have to go to the farmer's market and buy all these things. You are saying, at what point do I sit down to calculate to say, okay, this is how much I'm getting at the end of every 2 weeks or every 1 month, because I have no other means of income besides going to work every day. So at what point do I sit down to see how much I'm making, how much am I going to spend, and sometimes I don't even know how much I'm going to spend. That depends, so I just flow along. What do I do in that instance?
Are you specifically talking in terms of what's happening right now, the coronavirus? Okay. So I would recommend you sit down with a financial professional to help you with that breakdown. You know, I've been in finance for a long time, but I had to sit down with somebody myself to break everything down. You know, if you have a spouse, that's also critical for both of you to be involved. Person cannot do it. If you both live together, you guys gotta both be involved. You know, quite frankly, because wages have not been increasing in America like they should, more and more families are finding themselves in a situation where, just mention inflation is roughly about 3.5%, and inflation is just basically the price of goods and services. Every year, the value of the you have in your wallet goes down by about 3.5%. So, Dennis and William, if you think about it, wouldn't it be fair for you to earn an additional 3.5% on your paycheck every year to keep up? In Social Security, they used to have something called cost of living increases. That's what it is. They know the cost of everything goes up. So you need to, Dennis, in short, a lot of people need to make more money. Or seriously, even where we live, the mortgages and rent, those are going up very, very fast, William. They're going up fast, and I know you can talk to this, but we're in a situation where incomes are not going up, but then your mortgage is going up so high. So really, where you can afford to live is changing, you know. But we have to make more money. We have to pick up more hours. If you can get some extra time at work, do it. Obviously, we're all home right now, but if you get some extra time, do it. If you can get a second job, or if you have a hobby that you can generate some extra income from, do it. You need to make more money. It never hurts to make more money. Mm-hmm.
How about debt? I know the credit card, the mortgage, the student loan. Let's talk a little more about debt.
Debt is very interesting. As a matter of fact, I believe in the new stimulus bill. There's some assistance for student loan debt that's becoming a big problem. And of course, mortgage and credit card companies are working with clients. But debt is interesting because of how fast it grows. There's a rule called the Rule of 72, and your guests can look it up. The Rule of 72, which basically Imagine if I could tell you, William, how long it will take for your money to double, approximately. The money you have sitting in your account, how long it takes to double. So I always use this example where, let's just say for math, for the sake of math, you take 72 and divide it by 1%, or let's say 1, it goes into 72 times. What that means is the money you earn on your savings, if you're getting 1%, Dennis, it would take you approximately 72 years for your money to double. Now, let me tie that back to debt. Your average credit card debt, let's say if it is not going to be 1%, the bank will probably charge you around 18% on the credit card debt. It takes 18 into 72 is 4. It takes only for your debt to double. Think about that for a second. And a lot of credit card debt is not at 18. It's pushing 24, 26% right now. So a debt can get away from you. And William, you know, even a mortgage that's 4% within 30 years, it will double, right? You pay double. You actually pay double what the price of the house is, right? Understanding how debt works makes it critical to eliminating that debt. There are strategies, for instance, they call the snowball strategy, where you can roll down debt. There are those strategies that you can implement to get rid of your debt very fast, and sometimes half the time that you would normally have taken.
Funds. We're talking about debt. We're talking about our income to what we spend ratio, and yet you're talking emergency funds. How is that possible?
A wise person always told me, always pay yourself first. Always pay yourself first. Obviously, if there's an issue with cash flow, meaning that you're not getting enough money into your household for the standard of living that you want, you're not going to have anything left over to save. They say it's good to save 10% of your income. Some people say 20% of your income. Let's say if you save 10% of your income, you'll be okay. If you save 20%, no, if you save 10%, you'll be okay. If you save 20%, you'll be well-to-do. If you save 30%, you'll be wealthy. Right? Think about that for a second. Saving money is key to our financial health. Saving is key. So, I mean, it might involve cutting back. When I sit with clients that I'm helping, in many cases, to develop an emergency fund, we have to cut back on some unnecessary spending. You know, we live in a very consumer-driven world today. A lot of commercials come on TV. Eventually, they start to affect you, and you start purchasing things that you don't need. You may have multiple subscriptions that you're not really using, or you could have a high cable bill. Maybe you have the highest plan, and you could cut it down to the basic plan, because how much TV can you really watch? You know. There are several things that people can do. Some people have multiple vehicles in their driveway that they don't really use. You're paying insurance on all the cars. It might be a smart idea to get rid of a car. Just anything to create that $400 or $500 extra buffer, to where you can start putting something aside into an emergency fund. And then, I don't know if I have time, or you want me?
No, you can talk about the protecting. The property protection.
Yes, insurance is another key area of savings that families can. Insurance is life insurance, especially, is the foundation, or should be the foundation of any financial plan, because in most cases you're not going to put more into it than you actually get out. And at some point we are all gonna pass, right? What are you gonna leave behind for your family? Sometimes it's good to shop around, because you could pay double for one insurance policy, then you could pay for the exact same type of policy with a different company. You pay double at one company, then you could pay at another. So there's a need to shop around. Insurance rates are getting cheaper. Underwriting is getting more and more relaxed. Some companies even do telephone underwriting. So even during coronavirus, no health professional can come to your house and do a paramed exam, which is what a lot of companies require for adults. But if you can get underwriting done over the phone, that's something, you can get covered. And then you got mortgage insurance, property and casualty, that's auto and home insurance. There's different. It might be helpful for you to call your insurance agent or shop around and see if you can get a cheaper plan with somebody else. That's happening a lot. That creates more cash flow for you. I did it. I recently, I've had the same auto and home insurance for years, and recently I met with a Liberian insurance agent and got switched over, and I saved about $400. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I heard about it, but I had never really done it. It worked for me, so I would recommend that for everybody.
We've just been joined by our resident economist, Mr. Depu Zuo, the man whose fingerprint is on the pro-poor agenda. Mr. Zuo, if you're listening, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. I've been enjoying Mr. Rupert very well. It's good to hear him, and the professional, contribution is very good in terms of finances. Is very good. I think for me, I always tell people that next to God on earth is money. So if you know how to take care of money, then you're gonna live better. So it's good that you're providing the education for us, and I hope Liberians are listening, because quite interestingly, many of us live in the United States as though we are living in Liberia. Even those some people live in Liberia, they live far better than those who live in the United States in terms of financial planning. And you raised a lot of good points. The first thing that you need to, first of all, have a plan, budget what you already have on hand, what you earn if you know your earnings. And once you know your earnings, you put a timeline on what you're going to be spending at what time. And like that, it actually reduces stress on yourself as an individual. Because the first thing that is that you know the control of your money. You know where your money is going, and you know what to do with your money. If you don't do the planning, I'm sorry, you can make millions of dollars, but you will not do anything. You cannot enjoy your own money. So that's the first key. I think it's very good he says that. And the next thing that there is that in terms of crisis like this, we discussed it last week. People need to look at priorities. Without identifying your priorities in life, forget about it. You're gonna be spending your money and you'll be wasting it. So I like the conversation, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm encouraging Liberians. The main point that he was talking about insurance, which is income protection. It's something that is lacking. Insurance is more income protection, because one thing is that you think it's too much of money to pay now. If you have insurance that says it's $65 monthly, or let's say $30 monthly, depending on your age and other things. When you're paying that $30 and something happened to you, your entire family, your wife and children are already protected. Because one, the insurance is going to pay out huge sum of money. You don't need to collect money from family members for funeral. But you will see that in the Liberian community, many of our people are afraid to pay that monthly premium, sometimes $75 or $60, even if it's $100. you should be in the position of pay that for life insurance. That is to protect you and protect your entire generation. Because what we're working for, they won't be able to save and take care of our children when we die. So that's one education that is very much important for us to consider in all of our dealings as Liberians. So for now, let me just start here while we have the conversation. And I'll say, welcome, Mr. Broper, to focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, Fazua.
And Mr. Brookler, I got a comment here that I think we should go back to. The feedback I get, Musu Wanglo Stewart said, let's talk personal finance at the layman level. We start with understanding income, expenses, and savings. And so we're going to drill more on that even before we go to we talk about the protection. So just touch briefly, maybe 1 or 2 sentences each on building wealth, preserving wealth. And then we go to the little man or level to talk about, Musu suggested, income, expenses, and saving. And viewers, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing personal finance. We have posted the number so that you can join the conversation. It's 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. So, Bobby, wrap up on those 6 steps, and then we go to the layman level, as Musu suggested.
Absolutely, and thank you, Musu, for that, because and Dennis and William, if I start using terminology that is too finance centered, please stop me dead, in my tracks and let me know, because my goal is to share information with your listeners. So we'll just talk about building wealth and preserving wealth quickly here. It's our goal to, once we've done the cash flow and debt management and emergency funds, and we have all the proper insurances in place, you're going to have some money left over, and you're going to want to start to invest that money so that it grows, so that it compounds. And that involves outpacing inflation. So if the value of our money reduces by about 3.5% every year, then we need to be saving money in places that will give us more than that 3.5%. Okay. Also, taxes. We mentioned earlier about the effect that interest can have on your debt, how it causes your debt to double very fast. But guess what? Taxes does the same thing, because the average person is paying maybe 15 to 20% in taxes right now. That's like, taxes take away from what you bring home to your family at the end of the day. So that's very important. If you have more money, you may want to look into professional money management, helping speaking to investment advisors and showing you places that you can invest. They say the stock market is down right now. At some point, it's going to come back up. Are you prepared to take advantage of the cheap cost of the stocks and investments now, so that when it goes back up, you can make a good profit? That's another thing. Preserving wealth. Preserving wealth has to do with the legacy that you leave behind for your family. What are you going to leave behind for your kids, your grandkids at the end of the day? That's critical, because that serves as a jumpstart to that family member for their life, your kids and your grandkids. You can help them become wealthy just by giving them a head start. One of the things a lot of people are utilizing now is actually life insurance, where the minute the child is born, they go ahead and set them up with their life insurance, because the cost of life insurance is based on your age and your health. Well, when you're born, that's the youngest you'll ever be, and that's probably the healthiest you'll ever be. So it makes sense to get a very, very cheap policy on your kids, so that when they grow up, you can turn the policy back over to them and they can take over. Yeah, building family legacy also involves putting in place a will. A will basically tells the government who you want to get what out of your assets that you leave behind. You know, it spells everything out. If you don't have a will to determine who gets what's going to happen, William and Dennis, is that the government will come in and decide through the court process. They call it probate. The probate court will decide who gets what. And you know, when things go to court, lawyers get involved. So some of that money is going to go to lawyers. It's going to drag on and take a very long time to get settled. And you end up losing a lot of money that your family could have gotten, but because you didn't put in place a simple will. There's an artist who passed away several years ago, Prince, the music artist. He left roughly over $200 million in his estate. And Prince did not have a will. Now, if you don't have a will and you pass away, like I said, the government comes in to decide who gets the money. But first, they take out their taxes. And taxes for dead people is very high. It's almost 50% of that money that goes to the government. You know, so if you want your family to benefit, you want your legacy to go on, just put in place a simple will. It doesn't take long at all. You can talk to your financial advisor or talk to a lawyer, and they'll help you put that will in place. And for people with more money and more assets, more complicated assets, you may need to put in place a trust, you know, which is similar to a will, but it just determines who gets what, and you get to do that. You also look at other things involved, like medical directives. If I die, what do I want to happen to my body? Where do I want to be buried? You know, those kind of things. Do I want to be resuscitated? You know, those are in your medical directives. So it doesn't take much. You know, we just tend to procrastinate a lot, but that's something we all need to have. So that's the 6 steps. And then I'll circle back to cash flow and do a deeper dive and break it down a little bit more. So with cash flow, basically is money coming in and money going out. And then you look at what's left over. That's cash flow. Cash flow is very, very critical because cash flow determines the type of life that you're going to live. You know, how much money are you making? What are your expenses? How much can you save? You know, if you're living above your means, that means you're spending more money than you're making. And credit card companies may make it easy for you to get a credit card loan, but that puts you in a deeper and deeper hole, which is hard to climb out of. So that's just basically what cash flow is. In most cases, you know, people need to make more money. And that involves, I know it sounds crazy, but it involves maybe picking up some extra shifts or picking up some extra hours at work if that's allowed. Picking up an extra job on the side, a second job. Some people have a third job. That's really tough, but they're doing that because they want, you know, they want extra cash flow, and they have a time frame for how long they're going to do that, because you don't want to get burned out. You have a time frame, you have a goal to achieve. You say, you know what, for the next 3 months, I'm going to work an extra job and take that money and develop my emergency funds. Then I can stop, you know. So I'll just leave it there.
And Bior, about that extra money, you talk about picking up a hobby and making money from it. I don't know if you can see my screen here, but what I did here, you see on my screen, that's a virtual DJ. So, so I'm just before the coronavirus, I tried to learn how to DJ so that I go to, you know, on the weekends, $200, $300 here and there, it's not going to hurt. Your thought?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. William, do you have anything to share too? You got any side gig?
Well, just for our listeners and everything, what you're saying is very real. It's a reality. Now, I had always had kind of, you can say, maybe two kind of jobs. One, I worked corporate. Although when I was working at corporate, their salary was very competitive. Saved a lot of money at the beginning using the 401k plan. One of the side things that I did was real estate, and I was very fortunate during the time when the market was down. A couple of things happened. Most people don't know. One is at the beginning when the market crashed, I experienced a foreclosure. But at the same time, because if you're financially educated, you understand certain rules. And the rule allowed that after 3 years of a foreclosure, you're able to qualify for a loan. And I actually got one of the best interest. Actually, I got the lowest interest rate available, of course, and it was through Fannie Mae, but I had to pay some insurance on it. But I bought a fourplex. So I bought a fourplex. I lived in one, and I had 3 tenants. It wasn't easy. I spent a lot of time going to the Home Depot, different things like that. But what that allowed me to do was it allowed me to pretty much stored about 20% of my income in my 401k, and it also allowed me to save on rent, especially in the city of Los Angeles. So that's just an example. So I had my Edison employment. I worked for the utility company, and I had my real estate, right, managing the 3 units. So that allowed me to accomplish and do some of the things that you just mentioned in terms of being in a better financial position. So go ahead.
Good, William. I just want to read some comments and questions on Facebook, and we want our audience to call. You have Bobby today. This guy, he eats, drink, and sleep finance. So you have, please call and ask questions. So let me read a few questions on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, I read Musu's comment already. And she also said, most Liberians don't believe in life insurance. Seku Asumana say, I have insurance on my phone, but I don't have life insurance. Is that a good idea? In the case of many Liberians, any advice? We have insurance on our car, we have insurance on our dining room set, on the phone, but sometimes not on life. So Seku is asking your advice.
Can I just, before you comment on that, can I give just a real life tangible, something tangible example?
Let me read a few more comments. And Yeni cameraman Yenie said most Swiss have insurance on their income in case of job loss, accident, or illness. I think she lives in Switzerland. Can one receive unemployment with insurance, or which is more beneficial? Then Jimmy Eastman says, what about budgeting and investment? How much or what percentage should be saved or invested, and when should we start? Somebody's giving me kudos here for my side gig, which is DJ, even though I've never started. And then there's let me read the last question from Dave Jar. He said, what are the prospects of the financial markets after this crisis? Do you foresee that the financial structures and system will remain the same? I know I threw a few out there, so if you can quickly. William, you wanted to start first. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, William. You wanted to give a personal example?
Yeah, just want to give a personal example. You know, during certain time, there was this one opportunity that I had to get term life insurance. There are many types of insurance that you can get out there. It doesn't, it depends on where you are, where it suits you, who you speak to, and all of that good stuff. But when the opportunity was presented to me for term insurance, I said to myself, man, am I going to be able to make this payment for about 30 years, or 20 years? Will I be able to like make it and so forth? But I went ahead and I actually did it. And I got it at a great price. And up to this day, uh, uh, every now and then I meet with a life insurance person, and all of them look at it and say, well, if you're in the term insurance space, they're like, wow, this is a good deal. Another thing that Borbi mentioned was there's something else called like a custom life insurance that you can get, and I actually went ahead and got that for my child. Now the good thing about that is, you pay into it for about 10 years. So those two things are things that me personally, I don't, I'm not giving anyone advice because I'm not a financial advisor, but I know that that has been something that in the space of wealth transfer, by God's grace, not knowing what can happen, but I probably have the opportunity to kind of transfer that along. So go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, so that real life example, William. I have examples as well. I mean, Musu mentioned a lot of Liberians don't like to get life insurance. We come from a different country, culture. The life insurance culture is not strong amongst Liberians, especially those of us who were born in Liberia. Coming over here, we learned the benefits of some of these financial instruments, and insurance is one of those. A lot of people will choose to take their extra money and and send it back home. To build a house back home, or something just for start a business back home, and that's their retirement plan. The goal is to have that available for their kids when they pass on. But insurance is one of those things that gives you protection, where like I said, we're all gonna die. I mean, let's just be honest and real. We're all gonna die at some point. So wouldn't it make sense for you to take 10, 15, $20 a month and set it aside so that your family gets, whatever, 200,000, 300,000, 500,000. You can get up to $1 million, $2, $3, $4 million in some cases. That's very critical. People pass away a lot. My father, when he passed away a few years ago, we didn't have insurance on him. Matter of fact, we came to the U.S. He was already ill, so I don't even know if he was insurable at that point. But if you have somebody pass away, everything is on you. It's on your family, and we all have stories about that. We have to collect money from family and friends. There's something called GoFundMe. People put out a GoFundMe page. We can avoid all that and just protect ourselves. The most expensive insurance we pay right now is on our cars. The average cost of a car is like $8,000, but you're paying over $100 a month. In some cases, up to $200 a month for insurance on that car. And that car is not even going to last that long. You'd be lucky if you have it for 15 years. and then you got to start back over again on another insurance plan for your new car. So, you know, somebody mentioned insurance unemployment. Somebody mentioned insurance unemployment. If you lose your job, my recommendation is to file an insurance claim with the government, with your state. You know, that's the insurance that you pay into it. Everybody pays into it, right? But insurance is critical. There's basically, you know, two types of insurance. You have temporary insurance and permanent insurance. Temporary insurance tends to be cheaper, but it's for a term. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Very few companies will do 35 years, but that's it. After that term ends, your insurance has expired. If you were to renew a temporary insurance at that point, it will be extremely expensive, extremely to where you wouldn't even be able to afford it. Then you have permanent insurance on the other hand. Permanent insurance is more expensive, but you have it for your whole life. You know, so in most cases, people blend the two. You know, while I'm young, I have my kids, I have a 30-year mortgage. You know, the kids are still young. Let me get a 30-year term insurance because I know that by the time this 30-year insurance ends, I won't have the mortgage. The kids will all be grown. I won't have that insurable need. But then I have my little permanent insurance that would take me to the grave, right? Because after we all pass away, the last thing we want to do is to burden our loved ones with crying and missing us on the one hand, and then having to pay for it on the other hand. In most cases, that increases the grief. But a lot of families have, especially American families, have life insurance in place to where when somebody passes away, especially passes away prematurely, you have a lump sum of money that goes to the family. And if you could speak to a financial professional, they could take that money and put it into a personal pension plan and just pay that family for life. You know, there are different things that people have done to secure their family. And insurance is one of them. And I just wanted to touch on, just for the sake of the situation we're in today, we've noticed that a lot of people have started applying for life insurance. In fact, even after Kobe Bryant passed away, people started applying for life insurance because you realize that, wow, I guess anybody can go at any time. But the economy, somebody mentioned the stock market, you know, the economy, how sound is it right now? I would say before the coronavirus epidemic really hit, the economy was very sound. I mean, every day there was a new record high in the stock market. It was going up and up and up. Does that situation exist now? I think not. Just imagine, China is the factory of the world. China has completely shut down because of coronavirus. They're now starting to pick up the pieces. Europe is in the midst of it right now. They've shut down. The U.S. has practically shut down. Georgia shut down yesterday. And I suspect a lot of states are going to follow. Even if the cure for corona was to be found today, how realistic is it for us to expect everything to bounce back in a month or two? I don't think so. I think we're in a new reality, just like after the dot-com bubble burst in 2000 and the 2008 financial crisis, 2001, 9/11. Things changed. I suspect we'll be doing more and more of these Zoom meetings now going forward. I don't think companies are going to send employees back to to buildings where they have expensive leases, and you have to hire managers, and you have to worry about lawsuits from workmen's comp, somebody slipping and falling in the bathroom and all of that. So we're in a different reality. A lot of folks have started losing their jobs, like William mentioned. It's record high, you know. I think the number is up to probably about 8-9 million by now overall. What does that mean for your personal finance? Well, number one, if you were somebody that participated in a retirement plan at work, maybe a 401k or a Roth IRA or traditional IRA or Roth 401k, those are all retirement plans that many jobs have allowed employees to participate in, and they take out some money every month from your paycheck and they put it in that plan for you. A lot of them have restrictions to where you can't access that money until you're 59 and a half or more than 59 and a half years old. But with this situation, if you get terminated from your job or you retire or you quit and go work for another job, you have access to some of those retirement accounts to put in another type of account, a personal account that you can protect your money in, or or you could leave it with the old employer. But the employers are trying to these days, I notice employers are just trying to get rid of those old retirement accounts. So you might need to talk to a financial professional to have that money rolled over. I know there's some rare instances where they're even allowing people to access some of the money just because of this coronavirus situation without having to pay the 10% penalty. And that's another thing too. But there's a lot of rules surrounding that. You know, I don't want to advertise it as something anybody can just do, but you may need to talk to your finance professional and look at that. The market will eventually come back. You know, the question is, if you have to spend money from your retirement account now, when the market starts coming back, you don't have anything in there to participate in the growth. You know, so you've basically lost out. And that's just a decision. Planning is everything. Sit down with somebody and get a plan in place, because if you've lost your job and you know, your industry in some cases is not even coming back, that can be tough for many families, and they need to get by. So those are individual decisions that have to be made depending on the plan that's put in place.
Let me bring Depo in the discussion. Depo?
Yes, thank you. I think very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everybody
With the issue, and I think one thing that is also important besides the issue of life insurance is the question raised by Mr. Eastman, the issue of saving and that of investment. Because it's important that most often we concentrate more on how to save some money, but saving the money, and sometimes the interest rate and the growth is very slow. So you need to look at other alternatives and how to invest your money. And here in the United States, we talk about the stock market. We also need to look at other opportunities, mutual fund that you can make sure that you invest your money the right way. What is very much important too is that planning your finances in such a way that you don't just spend because you want to spend. You know, there's something that impulse buying is something that is I see it more among us, as I would say, Africans. It's not only Liberians. Impulse buying. That the moment we have money saved somewhere, and all of a sudden we hear say, "There's this thing on sales today." First of all, you're not thinking about whether you intend to use it, or because you heard people saying it's on sale and the price is lower than it was before, then you start going for it. So it's one habit that affect more Africans, not only Liberians. And sometimes my wife say, "Oh, you like to do," but why are you going for sales? Because you see the paper says sales. Did you really intend to buy this? Was it part of your plan to buy it? So it's something that really affects us. So now we just go for things because this whole feeling that impulse, oh, this thing is available, so I'm going for it. It's one thing we need to do. Because if without proper planning, you tend to use money and waste your money. Because it will be preferable for you to invest that money in the CD, you know, and get some income or out of it than to say you're going to buy something on sale. So these are some of the things that we need to be looking at, and I think family members uh, here in the United States we're talking about, but even say in Liberia, it's the same thing we do there. Many people are don't understand. In fact, we don't have life insurance. It's there in Liberia, but very few people do that. Health insurance and all of these things that we don't get involved with it. But I want to take the topic away from that of the United States, the financial system. In fact, this country itself is structured in such a way that the safety net is there. Even if you don't plan for yourself, sometimes the state intervention helps. But what about where we don't have any state intervention? Where we don't have anything else? What are some of the things that we need to do, as a family, as human beings, to say I'm leaving a legacy for my people, for my children? A simple thing that you can also be doing. You have money today, and the best group I like to deal with. I like to deal with them sometimes, and when I'm teaching is that the market women. They have a system where they got a saving rotation scheme that we call it susu. That's a serious investment strategy that they do. They don't have Since they don't have enough capital. What they do is that they go to one person and all of them give that person the fund and it becomes a startup capital and they start their investment immediately. So what do you do in that case? And some of them start to go into what? Real estate, building a property and they lease it out and get a return on that. Or they might end up getting the farm. And most of them, they do that as a way of what? Saving for their children and for retirement. Since we're talking about insurance, which is not practiced among us, when you have an asset, you have a wealth tomorrow when you are dead and gone, they don't have immediate cash to take care of the kids. The kids can live on these things. They don't need to rent. They don't need to do anything tomorrow. They have a house to live in. But wherein you, as a parent, as a father or mother, you have not been able to acquire any asset or you are not invested any money in something that takes care of the children, it's become a very serious problem for the children. So it's good for parents to think about that. You know, so in a year you ask yourself, oh, this year, what am I gonna leave for my children? Or what am I gonna invest to improve my life? That's the first question you should ask yourself. Or I worked last year. What did I see? What extra income did I get? What did I do with it? You know, for me, the retrospection is done every December. My birthday, December 24th. But on the 23rd, 24th, the whole 2 days, I take a start reviewing all of the activities. It helps you to know, okay, where you went wrong and what next to do. So these are some of the things that we need to be discussing about. I like the way Prophet is discussing. In fact, these are typical things that many Americans, the typical white people do. They sit with their children and discuss these things and tell them, okay, how do you spend your money? In fact, if you're giving money to the kids, how are you using the money? These are some of the basic things that you need to be doing. And that financial literacy, it shouldn't only be about yourself, it should also be something that you teach your children how to do it. When you give your child some amount of money, you say, what do you want to do with the money? Say, I want to buy candy. How many candy will you eat? Those are simple things that give that child some level of thinking about why dad is asking me this question. So it also helps to make them mature on how to save and how to keep some money and how to invest money, their money. And then another thing that African parents that we also need to be looking at, uh, the issue of will.
It shouldn't be about only rich people. It should be about the entire family. If you have, this is where most often confusion comes when someone dies, especially in Liberia, polygamous family. Yes,
With two or more mothers.
polygamous family. Three or, three or more mothers. The first thing that there is that as a father, once you born children by three women, any asset you have, you should sit and know how to distribute it. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
about the women, it should be about the children. Anything you get, any income, do it in such a way that the children all benefit from it. And sometimes the reason why many parents when they die, then family members start taking over their property and suffering their children because it's not written. It's something that we need to practice because we are afraid to discuss about death and to plan our death. And that's something funny that you will not hear many of us talking about. I used to be afraid of it though until I did this insurance study and I'm trying to go into that and later on I was like, oh, what is this? As a student, I have to leave it for some time. But it's good to plan your own death because when you are there and gone, many people will be talking to you in your absence about all these things the man got. What did he do? So it's better for you to plan ahead of time. And I always encourage women participation in this kind of conversation. When I'm discussing with students, I always encourage the women. Women are good at planning. When they understand financial issues very well, the home is very safe and secure. Because the first thing that there is that they will know what is used annually. And all of us here, we don't share our income, our information. No full disclosure in Africa, in Liberia. Let me just say so. So those are some of the things we need to be doing. Full disclosure of what you make and how it is spent. That is to also make your family secure. Security comes in right away. But if there's no full disclosure, that is that someone will be hiding somewhere, someone going to another place. That is to also affect the family. And start.
You cover a lot of ground, therefore that one is you busting somebody's bubble about the full disclosure. But here's a question on Facebook from you talk about impulse buying. Dave Jai is asking, say, what's about impulse giving? Because there are a lot of us, we don't buy, but we have that impulse to send money back to upkeep family members. So there is this impulse, as long as you have little extra. In fact, the way we talk about the check that may be coming, people start planning for how much to send to Liberia. So he's asking, what's the financial advice on impulse giving? Maybe there could be a bill introduced in Liberia that put you work with the government somehow to at least give us some return on our charitable giving to Liberia or even here.
Yes, and that's one thing. Let me be very frank with you. That's what happened to me when I went to Liberia. My first 2 years, in fact 3 years. My contract with international organization. Once I take pay, I have my own plan taking care of my family there and my family here. But all of a sudden, on a daily basis, people come to your office to ask and to beg you. So what I really did was that okay, besides immediate family members, friends and other things, I just made it. I made a line I call it goodwill. So if that goodwill is gonna be just $200 this month, once that goodwill is finished, you come and I tell you say just I'm sorry I can't help you now. Can we do it next month? He coming on the 27th or the 28th. You wonder about oh man, I have emergency, but I can't do anything right now. And between you and myself, this is where many people have problems. Then the next thing that there is that I was paying tuition for parents, just giving them money to go and pay children tuition. They come home, then they bring the list, you just give them the money. Then when you give them the money, they don't pay the money to the school, they use it for different things. Then they start back from school. Then I say, okay, but then I'm gonna pay directly to the school. So I say, okay, bring me the information and I will pay to the school. Then again, when you pay to the school and the parents don't pay the child where the child back from school. So there are so many things there in the whole impulse giving. So when you are giving, you should be very careful who you giving to. First of all, let the person be very mature. You know, I was discussing with a group of guys and they all laugh. Oh, the economists. Even when you look at the microfinance that was, yes.
I think we're going to have a special topic on this because the Liberian economy is, I don't know, how do we call it? Liberian economy.
You're not going to have that topic on the focus on Liberia marketplace. You will not have that on this show.
Because Liberia, because look at what he just said. If you pay to the father or the parents, the probably not going to pay to the school, the child drop out. If you pay to the school, the father or the mother is probably not going to pay the child's school fees, the child way to school, the child drop out. So it's a whole new thing that we really need to sit down, Mr. Zhu, a whole topic on just the Liberian scenario. Yeah. No, I get it, and it's very, very important.
Don't just be giving your money like that. And you know some of the things I used to do when people laugh at me? Wedding invitation, I give, unless I see that person under a very serious condition. Wedding, graduation, these are all entertainment and enjoyment, and you plan for it. You go for it. But now I changed from that whole, you know, in fact, sometimes you receive about 10, 15 letters. So the first thing that there is that as I say, okay, I'm going to be doing needs giving. The needs are, the first thing that there, food. The person's health, which is very much important. If the person is sick, I'm going to pay towards the hospital bill. When the child is in school, I'm going to pay towards his tuition. But to say you want to have a party and you come in, you want to have a wedding, you come in, you know, the first thing is that you should plan it because you want to have a wedding. So go ahead and plan it. Someone is giving, the person can, it's a goodwill, the person can decide to give you $5, but you can't charge me $50 and charge me $100 and say you're supposed to pay this amount.
In Liberia, the way the people is an economist. In Liberia, the way they describe economists say mean people. So I met a guy, he said, me and Lucky were mean people. I said, what do you mean? He said, because I always dating economists.
They challenge joke to say the economy can use that calculated number of cases they will give you. So, you know, all the folks can count their cases and all the social media can be a joke. But the reality there is that this is why we are getting poor. And one of the things that I told many Liberians here is that it's good for us to be giving to our people back home. And the call will give them money. But you need to just put some questions in and say, but why do you need this money? Oh, this thing happened to me, but didn't you know about this before? Like that, the person will wonder, that man, when I asking for money, can ask so many questions. The questions you asking, those questions will make that person to start planning. Because the thing that there is that they transfer their responsibility to other people. And because of the whole idea of begging, it's a disincentive to production in Liberia. Some people will beg, go to offices and beg and get $150 in a month. And whereas someone who goes to the person make $100 a month, you know, do you expect the person who begging to go to work? The person will not do the job. Or the person called about 5 friends in America, and they gave him $50 each. That's $250 right there. Do you expect that guy to look for a job? No. So this, yes.
Right now, we need to conclude on this topic. So let's conclude with especially our personal finance and what we do during this pandemic.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm saying is that in terms of the decision on how we invest our money as Liberians, as I said before, is that sometimes what you do at the end of the year, you guys can learn to put some money aside for whatever you save and do, you know what? It's likely that you can do capital pool, 4, 5 people get together and establish something, and become an investment, become another source of income for you people. Instead of just depending on money and say, I got $10,000 in my account, I got $15,000 in my account, and it's not doing anything. So these are things that we need to be doing. The more money you have in your account and you're not turning it around, to me, it gives you security, but it's not a long-term security. Anything can happen anytime. These are things that people need to be looking at. But in terms of the crisis now, what you can do is to focus on your basic needs. Basic needs, what you need to eat to survive for now. But thank you so much, Mr. Brope. I like the way you've made it. But one question I wanted to ask is it possible that you have a firm that exclusively look at certain community? Let's say, for example, someone say you want to be serving a needs or a librarian. Do you run such a firm, even though it might be a serious business?
Well, there. I mean, you can talk to a personal financial coach or personal financial advisor. They can take care of individuals. I don't know if that will be to a particular demographic. I don't know if that's legal in America, but maybe an individual who is a personal financial coach could decide to help out a particular group, maybe the different Liberian organizations or church organizations, Liberian churches and whatnot. But yeah, you could basically decide to help out a particular group, but a whole company just devoted to a particular group, I don't think so. But that's a very, very good question, Mrs. Zua.
Right, and one thing I was talking to someone. I said maybe one thing we can put together for our Liberian organization and churches, maybe we can have a Liberian auditing firm, because and it's not so much to uncover fraud, but at least to let them know that if you operate like this, you can get in trouble with the IRS, and so you have to do X, Y, Z to keep your organization, vibrant financially. But Bobby, let's conclude this on a summary, and also we go to the what we do now during this pandemic.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis. And I like what Debu mentioned about teaching kids financial literacy, because it really starts from the kids, right? And if you invest that time and knowledge into your children, they will definitely grow up in that knowledge. So that's very critical. As far as where we find ourselves now, the reality is we're still in a health crisis. Okay, so where most parts of the country are undergoing a lockdown. So the reality is your survival at this point really comes first. You need to number one, be safe, but then number two, you need to make sure you have basic commodities like food. You need to have medication where you are for at least they'll say 2 weeks, but I say try to see if you can have enough for like a month. Everybody doesn't have enough or medication to survive a month. Let's be real. As a matter of fact, even before the pandemic, before the economic crash, we had a serious issue with people going homeless and hungry every day. California, where William is, it's a huge problem out there. We're starting to see that become a huge problem in Atlanta as well. There are a lot of organizations that are out there right now that are providing people with food and medication. even during this pandemic. So that's the number one thing. If you don't find yourself in that category and you have sufficient to survive on, your next worry is going to be your money. Like, wow, what, how is life going to look after this pandemic is what everybody is thinking about. A lot of companies have pledged to not fire anybody. We're still looking to see because some of them haven't guaranteed that their employees will keep the same amount of paycheck that they have. Now that's going to be a problem because you could keep somebody employed, but you could cut their pay to half. That would still be an issue. We're seeing more and more furloughs. People just downright losing their ability to earn money. Furloughing means your company is saying, go home. You're not fired, but we can't pay you, because we don't have business. We're looking at the in terms of the hospitality industry, the hotels, the Airbnb and motels. All of those restaurants are experiencing that. The retail industry is hard hit. Macy's was suffering even before the pandemic. So, that's going to be a problem. Those Macy's workers are probably not going back. So all these people losing their jobs, how is life going to look like after? So right now, I guess saving money is the most important thing. Getting in contact with your bank as far as the lender that owns your mortgage, your auto loan, your credit card loans, and your student loans. You need to get in touch with those people as soon as possible. In some cases, even your utilities. They're all offering, a lot of them are offering some assistance so that people will be able to hang on to their money and use it for food and medication during this time. So it's critical for other folks that have some questions about how much money they've been losing when they look at their 401k plans at work. People have lost up to 40% of their money. So that means if you have $100,000 in there, if you had it in there before the crisis, now when you go look, you only see 60, and that's going to be a problem because it took people about 4 or 5 years to build up that, not the whole 100, but I think the gains for the last 4 years have been wiped out, basically. So it's like starting back from 2016. Imagine that. All this time the market has been going up and up and up. Now we've just lost everything. Where are we gonna, how are we gonna start back over again? So it's important to speak to somebody, and that's my message. Planning is key, and it's critical. We don't plan to fail. We just fail to plan. And I would just leave on that.
William?
Thank you very much. My approach maybe when I look at some of these crises might be a little bit different, but still with some underlying principles that are still there. What I believe or I see happening and really folks should kind of put some thoughts to this is that we're probably going to be in a bit of a valley for the next 4 to 8 months. And what that means is that for those who are currently working in certain industries where it's impacted, but it's impacted in the health industry where you're impacted, but that means that you're going to get paid, you have the ability to work and so forth. For the folks who are in industries like that, what I encourage them to do is look at the opportunity now to get ready to maybe build some kind of wealth. Sorry, it's look at the ability, whether certain market fundamentals are there. If you are working and you have the ability to buy a house, a home, you are thinking about doing it for a long time, and if it fits within that 20% to 30% of your income range, please go ahead and strongly consider something like that. Also, if you're on the other side of the spectrum, you're going through a lot of severe financial challenges. Just to buttress on your thinking cap during these times, maybe your pay will get cut, certain things will get adjusted downwards, but understand that there's a lot of things that will be adjusted downwards also. So, you're looking at some great opportunities, but only if you are healthy and you're sound mind, and you are engaging people and barter and do what it is you have to do to make things happen legitimately, legally. I think that that's going to be very, very important, and see where the chips fall. Prioritize what you need to pay, and things you don't need to worry about don't. And lastly, sorry, if major CEOs and major corporations, we're talking about top 100 companies, we're talking about the Goldman Sachs, we're talking about oil companies, we're talking about Walmart, we're talking about some of these major corporations. If they can be in a position where they are right now drawing on their line of credit and holding money, don't think that you are any different than some of these practices, but you have to be shrewd, you have to be thoughtful, and you have to understand that certain things just needs to be done for your well-being. So that's really it. But business has to go on. If you had a business plan and certain things you wanted to really do, it's not going to be easy, but you can still move it forward, whether it's at a snail pace maybe, but continue to move your business plan forward. Adjust some things, but if you had a really great plan, continue to move it forward.
So Bobby, we're going to have you back next week. Just give us a little preview, and then we can close.
Well, next week we probably will dig a little deeper into into the stimulus package and what it really means for people. We'll start to get back some numbers with regards to how many people are applying, small business loans, and those kind of things. Because that's relevant for where we are right now. We need stimulus right now. What are some of the criteria? What are the qualifications? Where to go to apply and stuff like that? I think it's something that people are truly concerned about right now. Maybe we should have even had it on this program, but that's fine. We can still push it to next week. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to say thank you to our listeners out there, and also thank you to Borbi Hooper for his time. I think the education today is very good for us as people. This is not only good for Liberian, I think for African as a whole. I think it's good to do initiatives. So we wish that you be back next week and to help our people. And we want to encourage Liberians and all of viewers out there, please send us your comments and give us your opinion on what you think and how best we can improve this program. Thank you, and have a very good weekend. And Mr. Ja, Mr. King, thank you so much. I like the way the program is going, and even though people like to listen to politics, but when there's some important thing that shake your own life, is also important. So thank you very much.
Until then, on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, my name is Dennis Johnson. Goodbye, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We all
Thank you, Mr.
Have a good day.
Liberia.